record. Well, hello and welcome to 4.4, all about biomes. So their goal is to describe the changes in ecosystems resulting from seasonal variations in climate change and succession. So I like the far side, cougars, lions, whatever. Forget these guys. Turbo. Get it? I hope so. Alrighty, moving on to our objectives. Our objectives are to describe and compare the characteristics of the major land biomes and identify the areas that are not classified into a major biomes. So think about it. Why does the character of biological communities vary from one place to another? Why, for example, do temperate rainforests grow in the Pacific Northwest while areas to the east of the Rocky Mountains are so much drier? How do similar conditions shape ecosystems elsewhere? So our first objective is to describe and compare the characteristics of major land biomes. So latitude, as you remember, latitude and heat transported by winds are two factors that affect global climate. Other factors among them are an area's proximity to an ocean or mountain range. They also influence climate. Let me talk about the mountain range first, right here. In Oregon, cold currents that flow from north to south have the effect of making summers in the region cooler relative to other places at the same latitude. Oregon borders the Pacific Ocean, and moist air carried by winds traveling west to east is pushed upward when it hits the Rocky Mountains. The air expands and cools, using the moisture in the air to condense and form clouds, as you can see from right here. The clouds drop rain or snow, mainly on the upward side of the mountains. And then as the air starts to sink again, the downward side of the mountain, it expands, warms, and starts absorbing more moisture. So as a result, the West and East Oregon have very different regional climates, and different climates mean different plant and animal communities. Ecologists classify Earth's terrestrial ecosystems into at least 10 different groups of regional climate communities called biomes. Biomes are described in terms of abiotic factors like climate and soil type, and biotic factors like plant and animal life. Major biomes include tropical rainforest, tropical dry forest, tropical grassland, savanna, and shrubland, desert, temperate grassland, temperate woodland and shrubland, temperate forest, northwestern coniferous forest, boreal forest, and finally, the tundra. Each biome is associated with seasonal patterns of temperature and precipitation that can be summarized in a graph called a climate diagram. This is a climate diagram. A climate diagram shows the average temperature and precipitation at a given location during each month of the year. On this climate diagram right here, the temperature is plotted as a red line. This is the temperature. And the precipitation is shown as vertical blue bars. So you can tell how much rain it gets, or snow, in each month. So, for example, tropical rainforest, where's my tropical rainforest? There it is, are home to more species than all the other biomes combined. The rainforest gets at least 2 meters of rain a year. Tall trees form a dense leafy covering called a canopy from 50 to 80 meters above the forest floor, in the shade below the canopy, and shorter trees and vines form a layer called the understory. Organic matter in the forest floor is recycled and reused so quickly that the soil in most tropical rainforests is not very rich in minerals. So make sure that you're also aware of the abiotic factors and the biotic factors for plant and animal life in each one of these biomes too. So moving on to the tropical dry forest. Tropical dry forests grow in areas where the rainy seasons alternate with dry season. This is the beginning of a dry season right here, maybe the middle of a dry season in Africa. In most places, a short period of rain is followed by a prolonged period of drought. And that's why sometimes water is an issue in Africa, because they have to save what they can when they can. Tropical grassland and savanna shrubland. This biome receives more seasonal rainfall than deserts, but less than the tropical dry forest. Grassy areas are spotted with isolated trees and small groves of trees and shrubs. Compacted soil, fairly frequent fires, and the action of large animals prevent some areas from turning into dry forest. So like giraffes and elephants, large animals stomping down things so the trees just don't get a chance to grow. Also be aware of the abiotic and biotic factors again. All right, deserts have less than 25 centimeters of precipitation annually, but otherwise vary greatly, depending on the elevation and latitude. Many deserts undergo extreme daily temperature changes, alternating between hot and cold. Many desert animals get the water they need from the food they eat. To avoid the hottest parts of the day also, many animals are nocturnal, active only at night. Large or elongated ears, like you can see here on this little animal, and other extremities often have many blood vessels close to the surface to help the animal lose body heat and also regulate their temperature. The temperate grasslands are next. Plains and prairies once covered vast areas of the Midwestern and Central United States. Periodic fires and heavy grazing by herbivores maintain grassland plants. Today, most have been converted for agriculture, but because the soil was so rich, is so rich in nutrients, and is ideal for growing crops. Temperate grasslands experience warm to hot summers and cold winters with moderate seasonal precipitation. And again, the soil is very fertile, and there are occasional fires. Temperate woodland and shrubland. In open woodlands, large areas of grasses and wildflowers are interspersed with oaks and other trees. Communities that are more shrubland than forests are known as chaparrals. Dense, low plants that contain flammable oils to make fire a constant threat. Happens a lot in California. Temperate forests are mostly made up of deciduous and evergreen coniferous trees. Coniferous trees are conifers, produce seed-bearing cones, and most have needle-shaped leaves coated in waxy substance that helps reduce water loss. Temperate forests have cold winters. In autumn, deciduous trees shed their leaves. In spring, small plants burst from the ground and flower. The fertile soils are rich in humus, and material formed from decaying leaves and other organic matter. On to the northwestern coniferous forest. It has mild, moist air from the Pacific Ocean influenced by the Rocky Mountains, provides abundant rainfall to this biome. The forest includes a variety of conifers, along with flowering trees and shrubs such as dogwood and rhododendrons. Moss often covers tree trunks and forest floor. Because of its lush vegetation, the northwestern coniferous forest is sometimes called a temperate rainforest. It's early, guys. Next is the boreal forest. The boreal forest is a dense forest of coniferous evergreens along the northern edge of the temperate zone and are called boreal, or taigas. Winters are bitterly cold, but summers are mild and long enough to allow the ground to thaw. Boreal forests occur mostly in the northern part of the northern hemisphere. The word boreal comes from the Greek word for north. And finally is the tundra. Tundras are characterized by a permafrost, a layer of permanently frozen subsoil. During the short, cool summer, the ground thaws to a depth of only a few centimeters and becomes soggy. And in the winter, a top layer of soil freezes again. The cycle of thawing and freezing, which rips and crushes plants' roots, is one reason that tundra plants are small and stunted. The tundra is characterized by permafrost. I already said that. All right, moving on. Objective 1 was to describe and compare the characteristics of the major land biomes. Biomes are described in terms of abiotic factors like climate and soil type, and biotic factors like plant and animal life. Objective 2. Identify the areas that are not classified into a major biome. All right, did you know that? Some areas are not classified. First one are mountain ranges. Mountain ranges exist on all continents, and have biomes. Excuse me, got a little technical issue right here. What is it? I don't want to start over again. Here we go. Okay, sorry about that. They do exist in many biomes. On mountains, temperature, precipitation, exposure to wind, and soil types all change with elevation, as you can imagine, and so do organisms. If you happen to climb the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, for example, you begin in a grassland. You then pass through the pine woodland and then a forest of spruce and other coniferous. Thickets of aspen and willow trees go along stream beds in protected valleys. Higher up, soil is thin. Strong winds buffet open fields of wildflowers and stunted vegetation resembling tundra. Glaciers are found at the peaks of many of these ranges, too. Another area not classified are the polar ice caps, the polar regions. The polar regions border the tundra and are cold all year round. Plants are few, though some algae grow on snow and ice. Where rocks and ground are exposed seasonally, mosses and lichens may grow. Marine mammals, insects, and mites are the typical animals. And in the north, where polar bears live, the Arctic Ocean is covered with sea ice, although more and more ice is melting each summer. In the south, the continent of Antarctica is covered by nearly 5 kilometers thick in places. All right, so objective 2 is identify the areas that are not classified into biome. And because they are not easily defined in terms of a typical community of plants and animals, mountain ranges and polar ice caps are not usually classified into biomes. So a quick review. Can you, ask yourself this, describe and compare the characteristics of major land biomes and identify the areas that are not classified into major land biomes? All right, I think you should be able to do that. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.